Good morning, guys. Let's give it a minute or two while everyone gets on here. Okay, so how many of you were on last week's mastermind? Anybody? Yes, Anna, you were. Awesome. Do you remember how we highlighted Jessica? Okay, so I'm going to give you a progress report on Jessica. This is kind of, it's always fun to start with this type of stuff. So let's give it a little. I want to give about 30 more seconds because I can see some people are just kind of slowly getting in here, and it could be because they're just registering for Zoom for the first time. But I'm going to share my screen, and we'll just do a quick recap of last week. Okay, so for those of you that weren't here, this is Jessica, and Jessica is out of, I believe, Banff, Oregon. And she literally was just in her first week. So this will be her second week. So I'll give you the kind of I'll set the premise of what she was doing. And we'll talk about the script she used again to get these 5 listing appointments that she's talking about. But let's just hear just a quick clip so you guys can kind of have this as, just a quick reference of where I'm going to go next with this. Conversations start initially.
So I actually copy and pasted. So when I was in one of your classes that we did last week, you had one of your examples was this lady, and she did this amazing, I took a screenshot of it, and it was this email that just was a quick reply, and I've been utilizing that, and it's been working. And then also I've been doing some video, not a lot, but I do a little bit. And then just really a lot of them, I think that my market, like no other agents are really utilizing Facebook. And so I was fortunate. I think I just kind of fell into the right place because I got a ton of leads and a lot of interest. And I look at it like I now have, 43 emails that I didn't have last week. So to me, that's a win, even if it's just the emails.
Oh my God. That's huge. That's a huge opportunity because you can get face to face with every single one of those people, especially with the bomb. Now, because you had 3, you said a total of 3 appointments. Now, what was the email? Because I share a lot of emails. What was a specific email and script? Was it a text-based script that you used?
It was. Let me go ahead and pull it up real quick, and I can let you know what it said. You submitted your information for home valuation on Facebook regarding your property at that address. I did the research on the homes that have recently sold in your neighborhood. Without looking at it, I can do my best online internet guess. And then it said, I know I can do better than this. And I think that's what sold it. I know that I gave them a wide range. And then it was, I know I can do better than this. Let's chat. And just kept it really casual.
That is awesome. I'm going to show everybody where that script is because that script I actually placed in the, guess where, guys? The Street Text Academy. Oh, I talk about that all the time. Oh, are you all on that module? I don't know. Probably should be at this point, right? Hold on, guys. I'm going to sign that again. Come on. I want you to start understanding everything that I put in that academy is for you to convert more leads, okay? So you just heard it from Jessica. She's just a week. Okay. So that right there is just kind of giving you a frame of what we were talking about last week in the script she was using. And so to kind of go along off of that script, we put that script in the mastermind, or excuse me, in the Blueprint Academy, right? So everybody, all of you should be enrolled into that. If not, make sure just to send us a quick message right here and we'll get you the link. Now, I did a follow-up with her because she's about to go on a 2-week vacation, lucky her. And I just wanted to know from last week, what has she done? Like what in those last 7 days since that point, since that conversation, what did she do? Anything differently, anything unique? So I'll kind of share the Facebook message she sent me today. Let me go back to my Google Chrome. So this is her response. If I can get the volume going, hold on.
You guys today for the mastermind.
Okay.
Hi, Marcus and Street Text family. I am not going to be able to join you guys today for the mastermind. I'm super bummed about it, but it's good news. It's because I'm at a listing appointment. So I did want to just kind of give you guys an update on how Street Text is working for me. It's awesome. I love it. I have one ad that is running right now. I did shut off my other ad only because I put it on pause, only because I am going on vacation for a couple weeks on Sunday. And so I'm just going to run the one while I'm away. I had one listing appointment last week. It went great. I'm going to be working with this young lady. I have 3 listing appointments this week, 1 this morning, 2 tomorrow. I do have 2 set up as well for when I return. We got a dump of snow. And so a lot of people that I've been reaching out to and talking to via Street Text, they really want to kind of wait for the snow to melt. So I feel like this is going to be great timing. I'll be able to come back and really slam out a bunch more appointments. Some statistics on my ad. Cost per email is holding strong at $1.94 per email with an open rate of about 50 to 60%. I've received in the 2 weeks that I've been with Street Text 156 leads. Some are just curious, but again, someday, a year, for 2 years, 3 years from now, they'll remember me that, you know, I gave them that home valuation. So like Marcus has said, Street Text, Facebook ads, top of the funnel. So my cost per clicks are about 76 cents, so pretty good still. And overall, I'm really, really impressed. I'm excited to be working with Street Text. I think it's a great tool, especially for us agents that want to get more in front of people. And Facebook is a great way to do that. So anyways, have a great class, you guys. And I hope I will be joining classes again when I get back. And you guys take care. Bye.
Okay, cool.
Hi,
Let me
Margaret.
get back to our stop share. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So you kind of get the in-depth understanding of how our ad is performing as well. But I mean, really, the thing I love about Jess is she, in her first week, she didn't even have her SMS activated. She wasn't using BombBomb, and she's still not using BombBomb, but she's excited to, okay? But the key is she went with the script and she ran with that script. And I mean, she's just exuberant. She just confidence just bounces right off of her. I think she's going to be great. I think she's going to do really well. Now, you guys, Logan, and this is a good question for you, because I'm sure people are going to be looking at Jess and say, well, I'm not getting a 75-cent cost per click, or, you know, I don't have 100+ emails, you know. So what advice would you give to people, and how do you kind of make sure to understand it is all relative to your market?
A couple things. First and foremost, of course, every opportunity is an opportunity, and that's why I think having video embedded in your email is incredibly important. It doesn't really matter if 100 people see it or one person sees it. That one person could be the individual who's going to end up selling their home right away. So personalizing your email first and foremost is incredibly important. And the second part of that is making sure that you're finding the right area to be in. Right? So creating one ad and hoping for the best can work. However, it's not the smartest approach. So building multiple ads, finding relevancy, right? You don't necessarily need to chase it, but you do need to find it. So building more than one ad, let them run for 24 to 48 hours, which we're going to touch on many times throughout this webinar, my assumption would be. It's really important to find the right stream to be in. So in order to find that, you do need to build more than one ad. So I typically recommend to people to build 3, one big, you know, 2 much more refined. Really test your water, so to speak, and find what's working, and then lean into that area, right? So that's typically what I would recommend.
Great, that's great. Anybody have anything they want to share based on what you just saw? I mean, it's always great to kind of just hear. You know, we're hearing from Jess, but is there anything particularly that you want to share? I know, Rich, you're on here. I know you were telling me about, Richard, one of the first leads you got was a conversation you had, so I'd love to hear about that. Anyone else, Jeff, Anna, Michelle, any one of you guys, just go ahead and unmute yourself and feel free to share with us any experience you're having on the leads, or maybe even lack of experience. And we can kind of take that example that Jess just shared with us and kind of go a little bit more in depth in the script she used, and maybe help you guys start conversations that way. So I do want to emphasize, this is a mastermind, guys. This is not just listening to Marcus and Logan speak. This is for all of us to participate together. So the more we interact as a group, the better we're going to get. So this is why we're all here. We're here to help each other. So make sure to be bold and courageous right now. And just, there's not a dumb question you can ask. Just ask it. And we'll make sure to get in depth in terms of how are we going to all be successful in our given market. I think the truth is, if you come from a place of value and contribution, if you're coming from a place of authenticity in everything that you're doing, you're going to get clients. It's just a matter of when. So just, all I can tell you is continue to test out these funnels in your market and look for the best opportunities in terms of a cost per lead basis. Never be content with the ad you have. Always be testing, because you never know the market that you're going to tap into. I always find it really comes down to the first 500 people reached. And if you do a solid test in that first 500 and you get a great cost per click and a cost per lead, you're going to be pretty excited moving forward off of that. So if you don't find that in the first 500, just stop it and write a new one and continue to do that until you get it. And like Logan was talking about, experiment with the conversion ad template. But also there's a little one kind of emerging there that not many people are looking at, which is the equity side of your funnels. Look at that one as well. And then just experiment, guys. You're going to find a particular market that works best for you and a funnel. And so there's some great ones in there you can test to see if it's going to be different. We say it all day. You got to get in there and start testing as many as you possibly can before you find which could be the winner, just like Jessica so luckily found early on at a 75-cent cost per click, right? And $1.98 email. I mean, that means for every $10 she spends, she's getting 5 new opportunities to meet somebody. So something to consider. So anybody who has a question or specifically just wants to kind of just talk and discuss a little bit about what Jess did there.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so I've actually ran into this 3 times in the last 2 days, and I understand that it's not for everybody, but I keep getting that through email or just talking that they feel like the ad was deceiving. And I mean, obviously they clicked on it for a reason, but what I'm having a hard time with is extracting that information that they were looking for. Like, do you have a follow-up question? If they say, like one person said, I was just hoping to click and find the value, but whenever I tried to kind of dig a little deeper into that, I was not really getting anywhere. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, Logan, you probably have a good thought, and then I'll kind of give my answer, and then you can share your answer. I think at the end of the day, if that's what they think they were got, then all you just got to say, what, actually, no, this is a real home value. And the reason why we don't simply just do an automated version is this, right? And that's kind of the key on the idea of the guesstimate versus, it wouldn't be wise for me just to split out a number that could be anywhere from $50,000 to blah off. I mean, in some of the cases, a lot of these can be. So the script that I like that Jess uses in response to that and that Marley uses, that's in the Academy, is you can easily overcome that objection right off there by just giving them a guesstimate number. Right. And saying why it's not an automated home value. Anything you'd add to that, Logan?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one thing that's really important is touching on what they're asking for and what you think they truly need. Is what they need a general guesstimate, or if they're actually interested in selling, do they need to know what that price is actually going to be? For a lot of people, if they're getting ready to sell, they want to know what they're able to afford. A lot of people are moving, right? So what can I afford? So they can't get, in my opinion, just a random guesstimate. So I like to touch on that a little bit and say something to the nature of, the internet's best guess. So when somebody gives me that objective, I can say, I'm more than happy to provide you what the internet's best guess is in a sense, right? So I like to lean into it a little bit and give them a couple different ideas from, realtor.com, Zillow, things like that. And I'll say something like, the internet's best guess as to what your home would sell for is, right? Then I'll say Zillow.com says your home is worth $648,000. Redfin or Trulia says it's worth $489,000. However, as you can see above, the internet has no idea what your home's worth. However, as a real estate professional, what I aim to do is give you real numbers. I don't deal in guesstimates. In order for me to get that number, I do need to see your, at the very least, have an in-depth conversation with you by phone. And I think that giving them what your initial offer was that auto CMA or valuation to a point, but you're not the one who's wrong. If you're the one who comes up with the guesstimate and that number's inaccurate, you weren't the professional they thought you might be. You're the one who's not right. But if you kind of put that off onto the internet, so to speak, or Zillow or one of those other places, you can say, from all the information compiled online about your property, here's what's, the internet's best guess could possibly be. But if what you're looking for is a real legit number, I'm able to give that to you. However, in order to do so, I need to meet you. So I think that moving the yardstick, so to speak, closer to the end zone works really well that way. And using that little buffer should help you as well.
Okay.
And Jeff, I think the key here too is understanding, in the case of Marley and how she does, and a lot of the agents now that are doing this, is like if you embed video in the introduction and the first thing they click on after they submit their address is like, for those address onlys, they obviously don't want to provide their email. But if they're willing to provide their email, they just gave you email permission to be contacted. So in that very moment, you have the opportunity to introduce yourself and define your process, right? And so.
Right.
So if your process is relying on some auto-generated HTML email right now that's firing off from Street Text, then you're going to get a lot of responses that similar to what you just received. But if your response has embedded video in there and you're communicating why, who you are and why you don't do something like a guesstimate, then they're not going to have that objection there.
This is what I'm running verbatim.
What's that?
I basically just copied what Marley was saying, and I'm using that same email.
Okay, so this is her follow-up, right? This is her follow-up.
Right, exactly.
Okay, and so it's just numbers then. It's just a numbers game.
Absolutely.
So as far as you're concerned, you're giving value right there, right? You're coming a place of authenticity. Especially if it's not sounding scripted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like listen to what Marley says here. It's not going to feel inauthentic.
Hi, it's Marley. Just letting you know that I attached the internet-based valuation that I said I was going to send. If you want a more accurate one, of course, that will take just about 15 minutes to walk through your property. I'll even bring my favorite cupcakes for you to try. So if that's something you're interested in, just go ahead and let me know what time works for you. Talk soon. Right,
but that wasn't just what she sent there either, right? The key was in her auto email responder, that was initially got within the first 3 minutes of submitting their lead information, she had, let's see here, I go to this, she had this in her auto responder initially. So FYI, this was her.
Hi, I'm Marley. Elevate Real Estate. I got your request for the home price valuation and I am on it. Oh, and by the way, I left a link to my Facebook profile page below. I'll just be sending you a really quick friend request. Want to make sure you get a chance to meet me. We'll talk soon. Bye. Okay.
So the key is she has some video context in the auto email. She submits that as a basically she's just looking to start the communication. So if you can get them to talk and just say anything, you've got the conversation started. And in that case, you can define what that process looks like in any endeavor. And I think leaving that a little vague is going to encourage them to want to actually do the walkthrough. Makes sense? And for anybody that has objections, you say, hey, no, actually, that's why you want to personally respond to them with video. And so, actually it's not, it's our business page. So I'm so sorry if that would have deceived you in any other way. The reason why I don't do it, we don't just fire off any number is this, and you're going to have 1,000 reasons you can say, right? You just got to ultimately define what yours is. Never take these examples that we put in here and just say, this is going to be my process. Just because it won for Jess or Marley doesn't mean it's going to win for you. If it doesn't come from a place, like doesn't feel right or authentic to you, then you got to find another way, right? Like Donna Swansea is another person who's done over 100 deals. Everybody wants to replicate Donna. Donna does it herself, and Donna does it out of her market, and she does it, you know, she doesn't derive off that process. But I just don't think that everybody's got to find, you know, you want to use these examples, but then you want to kind of make it your own. And just use this as a foundation to work off of, but figure out what you would actually say. And what would it be coming from a place of authenticity? What would be the way that you would want to give that home value to them? And how could they receive it? Give them a few options for that matter. Make sense? Anybody want to add to that or have any questions, particularly on that script? You like that script? Would you change it up a little bit for yourself? What questions do you have, particularly with the autoresponder and specifically the follow-up? Because I think the key here is understanding that with any of these leads coming in, if you don't humanize the process right off the bat, it's going to be a hard time trying to get to them later. So number one is don't let them decide for one moment that they thought this was a home value and that's why they're out of here in terms of an automated home value.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
On her follow-up, so the initial one, she has a video that goes out. So the second follow-up is typically on their, the auto response is 3 days. I send an email to them out of my personal email. So could it, I guess I'm understanding her automatic comes out with another video, correct? Is that after the 3 days?
No, the automatic one is initially off the bat, right?
She does the initial, yeah, but then she did it. Then she did the other one. Was that the 3 day?
No, that had nothing to do with the 3. That was her own personal email.
That was her own personal. Okay. So do the very first one, and then when you send your valuation, that's out of your own personal one.
That's out your personal one. And the 3 day in there and the day 10 and all those days that are in there available to you up to 9 months are all optional.
Right. Okay. I knew that. Yeah.
And those are just like, I would say you personally should look at every single one of those that are going to fire off and ask yourself, is this the way I want them to be touched on? Because if your hands are not on it, then in many ways it could be either eventually unsubscribed or it could get more annoying and you could lose business out of it.
Right.
So if you're not in control of the process from your very first email and then your follow-up, like it literally should be the most important pieces of this should be your initial autoresponder and your follow-up to that autoresponder, adjusting the home value.
Okay.
And you got to define what that process is going to be. Is it going to actually give them a number? Or are you going to spend some time figuring out that number? Or are you going to do something like Jennifer Ivey that says, hey, my process is a complimentary walkthrough. I have 3 availabilities this week. That's basically it. And I mean, and she doesn't do as many deals as everybody else, but she did 9 deals just with that script. And she didn't have to spend very much time with anybody that wasn't interested in doing that walkthrough.
I do what you guys do. I do ZillowRealtor.com, Troya, and then my MLS, and then give them a range.
Okay. And so that's your process. And so if you're diligent and dedicated to that process, you will get clients because
that's what I do every time. Yeah.
And
I'm just in the middle of adding videos to it.
Perfect.
So,
So, and that's just going to only enhance it because now they see that you're coming from a place of service, contribution, authenticity. They see that you're genuinely trying to help it. You're humanizing the process. So they can't, the problem, if you leave it to text responses, and I'm talking about email for sure and text, it could be interpreted 1,000 or more ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are so many studies out now that shows without body language, without tonality, you're literally allowing maybe 3% of communication to happen. So I don't care how great your intention is and how great those numbers are, they're still not going to really think of it any other way.
Right. That's true.
Right.
True.
And so you need to give them a chance to meet you every time. And if they don't like you, then that's not the person you're going to work with.
Right.
Online. You guys are on a relationship business. Like you're all in real estate. You're all face-to-face handshake type of business. You eventually got to get into their home anyway. So you might as well start with an introduction because on the seller's standpoint, at least with seller leads, it's digital door knocking. That's what it is. When we talk about what Jess was talking about, top of funnel, what we're talking about is these are people who are scrolling down their newsfeed in Facebook. They see an ad, whether it's an equity ad, whether it's a, what their home could sell for ad. And you just kind of got them off guard. I mean, they're like, hey, it could be, hey, honey, we're interested. Like, let's figure out what our home is worth. And at that moment, it ultimately becomes from the subconscious scrolling down, you know, just pure entertainment value on Facebook to consciously submitting information. So it really, you can control what that process looks like and how you want to give them that value. And I think that's the key. If you really think about it from that place, this is where it's limitless with what you can do here, because it's not like, I think a lot of realtors come into this type of lead generation from Zillow or from realtor.com or from Trulia or, you know, Google SEO, where people are searching actively. So they're used to different, maybe more pre-qualified leads. These are all people who have some interest, and a lot of them are just curious, but you got to look at the future. The future is where all these deals are going to be had. It's not so much short term. And that's the problem. Everybody wants these short term deals, and it happens from time to time. But Facebook is top of funnel, meaning there's a nurturing process that has to take place. There's this know and like and trust model that has to take place. And some people are better than the others.
You like all your clothes hanging up there?
Someone's got to turn off their mic there.
Oh, this is Richard. I wanted to make a comment on that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay, go ahead and Richard, yeah, go ahead and talk.
Well, so, you know, in the first 3 weeks that I've had Street Text, I've gotten 4 appointments, and they're all going to turn out. One of them turned out to be a listing, but then she canceled because her life circumstances changed. But the other 3, I'm nurturing them to get their houses on the market now. And so my follow-up when I email them or talk to them is I can give you an electronic evaluation, but the electronic evaluation doesn't highlight the uniqueness of your home, its location, upgrades that you've done. And so that's the key to getting, you know, the appointment is you got to sell the idea that your professional knowledge and your market knowledge is going to be more than what an electronic evaluation can offer. So it's, you know, if they bring up the word Zillow, and then, you know, my next response would be, so you got a Zestimate, and that's exactly what they say. Zillow, it's a Zestimate. So they're giving valuations off of the average of that configuration sold in that area, but it's not a true market value. So just overcoming the, you know, the customer that says, well, Zillow says this, you can say something else.
Richard, that's great. I mean, that's powerful. Now, do you do that? Do you have Richard an autoresponder that fires off, and do you have a follow-up that you use, or do you look at every single person individually?
I look at every single person individually. Okay,
and so I guess the key is when that lead is submitting like their email information, what's automatically sending to them? Do you have some sort of canned response from Street Text? Have you changed that, or are you really focusing on the follow up from that?
Well, I'm just using the responses from Street Text, and then, you know, when I have the time to sit down and look at it, or in the morning, but it's usually, you know, a couple times a day to see what's going on, or I'll get a notification. And then I look at, number one, did they provide, you know, a phone number, an address? I look at the property even before I'm going to respond to them, because I've gotten some properties like, you know, something, I really don't want this listing. And then another powerful tool that I think is working pretty good is I have I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. It's called Remine.
Remine?
Remine. And so it actually gives you a lot of in-depth knowledge into the property, what kind of equity position they got, you know, loans they've had. And so you might now want to start engaging with somebody who their equity position it's just not going to pan out. It might be a nice house, but you know, they're barely going to have enough money to pay for commissions and, you know, and expenses when they go to the closing table. So, you know, those are things I look at too. So it's just basically a little bit of research before making the call or trying to reach out to them.
And what market are you in, Richard?
Alaska.
Alaska?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, you know, I think it's one of the key things here for everybody to understand is you got to kind of think about your own market. I'm just going to mute you for a second there, Richard. You got to think of your own market and kind of define and understand, like, is the realtors in your market more technologically savvy or are they not? In some cases, you can get away with, like, if people never, like for Jess, for example, she said there's not a lot of people in here that know how to do Facebook or are doing Facebook marketing in this market. So I think I have the advantage there. And obviously she does because of the fact that these people are responding right off the bat to her, right? But in some cases where you know you're in a competitive market, you're gonna have to be unique, you're gonna have to be different. The way you follow up with them, it's gonna have to be very powerful. And I think that's where, if you consider the market you're in and how competitive the real estate market is where you're at, always think about how can I have a competitive advantage? What is it that I am going to do differently? And so because everybody's going to see some sort of Facebook ad out there, once they click on it, you have that opportunity. What's defined on whether you win that opportunity or not is how you respond to that opportunity.
One other thing, guys, not to ever forget, you have much more to offer these people than just simply letting them know what their home might be worth. You also have the ability to let them know improvements that they might need to make before that home becomes market ready, right? So if somebody says, you know, I've gone through Zillow or whatever it may be, you can also add the fact that, look, I show buyers homes like yours all day long. I know exactly what buyers are looking for, you know, and as realtors, we know the right places to spend money, right? In terms of improvements on a home, spending money refinishing the basement, if it's already finished enough that the square footage is calculable, you know, that's not the right place. However, ensuite bathrooms, kitchens, things of that nature, that's where they're going to want to spend a couple bucks to get that home market ready and get best bang for their bucks. So once again, it's not just, hey, I can tell you what your home is worth. I can help you get your home ready to get top dollar for it when you're ready to sell. So that's another approach to add in there.
Yeah, no, and you know, I think the key is too, you can obviously take it a step further. And I know Leon was talking about this, drop an info pack at their door, right? I have a guy, Patrick, who is in his 70s. He's an old school realtor. I mean, the guy's been around when, you know, business was with handshakes. So what is he going to do? He's going to go out and introduce himself at every single door because the address to him is gold, especially in the market he's in where it's $1 million+ market. So I think at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, what are you willing to do to start that conversation? You know, no just means not now. In many cases, not yet. You kind of got to look at the way, like, I'm not going to give up. Like, this is tenacity in the sense of I'm going to make them like me, because I'm really trying to help and serve them. And if you come from that place, it's just a matter of when. And so you got to look at all angles to this person who wants to know what their home's value is, and just look at it as like, well, what is the true motivation behind them wanting to know that? Where are they looking to go? What are they looking to do? How can I really give them the best information? And then what can I do to stay top of mind with this person so that even if it's not the time today, just like Jess was saying about, you want to make sure that you have the opportunity to stay top of mind for the remainder of the future. So when the time comes, they're going to use you because of who you are and how much great information you give them over time. So I think that's the key in that process. And that's why I tell everybody, one of the best things you could possibly do is try to get, as soon as every one of these leads come in, try to get them back on Facebook. Because if you start putting them, if you start kind of simply thinking about it in terms of, I'm adding them as a friend and then I'm dropping them into a list, so I know where all my leads are. You obviously gonna know where all your leads are in your CRM, but you're gonna be relying on most of you who don't have like really solid drip campaigns to stay top of mind, and especially personal ways. So if you bring it back to Facebook, now you get the opportunity to stay top of mind every single day, and they get to see you and understand who you are as an individual and what you love, your passions, what makes you a human being, what they start. And many times I'm hearing it even from Marley, they start commenting on stuff and liking stuff. And then you're like, whoa, who's this person who's just did this? And you're like, oh, this is the lead that I got a home value 2 months ago. because you made sure to kept them in that list, and you tracked the last conversation you had through Messenger, right? So you got to think on top of what Street Text is doing, how are you going to maintain and nurture that relationship? Just because you said I'm not ready, or just because you said I thought it was a automated home value, doesn't mean anything. It just means they're not ready to maybe to do any transaction today, but it doesn't mean that if you do more great, service focused, value contribution based activities, that it's going to be a matter of when they're going to work with you or refer you. Maybe they're not ready, but they're like, oh, this person was so great to me. They dropped a packet at my door. They sent me a Facebook message. They gave me all these great tips and stuff. And we were not ready, but you got a referral out of it, right? So you got to look at it. We're basically building relationships with this tool. This tool is all about starting conversations. And so that's why you're not, in many cases, you're getting $1 to $2 cost per emails. Now we all want the phone numbers, okay? But Facebook top of funnel type stuff is not about phone number submissions. It's about conversations. It's about doing what you can to start that conversation. And then if you do it right, you take that into a complimentary walkthrough. Hey, you come across with value. So my process is a complimentary walkthrough. I even bring over your favorite cup of coffee. Can you just tell me what you want from Starbucks? I'll bring it over. You can hold this for a rainy day. Even if you're not ready to sell now or 5 years or even 10 years down the line, it doesn't matter. It's just my way of giving back to the community. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to have this experience. Like if you come from a place like that, who wouldn't want to, especially if they see you as somebody that's like, wow, this person he's not just trying to sell my home. He's really trying to help. And he's willing to do this type of above average, this is not just some average home evaluation. This is a walkthrough with giving back and coming into their home and saying, you don't have to sell your house. You may not ever be ready to sell your house, but it's my way of giving back. So
hey guys, one thing I wanted to add on to that is in this business, when you look around, there's realtors everywhere. But there's still more clients than there are realtors. So the way that I look at this is sometimes you have to get creative. Before there was social media, I was in real estate before there was even a social media going on, and it was a lot more difficult. I did a lot of door knocking. It was always a tough grind. And now people want things to be a lot easier this day and age, of course, and granted it is easier. However, you do still need to distance yourself from your competition. So one thing that I recommend is once again, be a little unique. Do some things that are a little bit different. Be creative. You can use this like digital door knocking. So for instance, instead of going and just cold calling and door knocking, look at your addresses. Look at all of the people who've come through and submitted even just their address. Do something a little bit unique that's maybe seasonal, right? Easter coming up. Do a little Easter themed door hanger. When it's Christmas time, you can send a little wrapped gift that's got your business card in it. Something, it doesn't matter what it is, but something that's a little bit unique, a little bit seasonal. Just differentiate yourself a little bit from those other people. Something as easy as who on here has ever run a contest? You can run a contest on Facebook using your street text ad really easily. You can share it to your own page and then put something on there that says something to the nature of, for everybody who likes, comments, and shares this ad within the next 72 hours, you're going to be entered to win, and make it something cool and local and unique to the area that you're already farming. Not a chain restaurant, not Starbucks, not something like that, but something really quaint and local to this area, so that hopefully either it's already their favorite place to go, or better yet, they've never been there and it's going to become their favorite place. You're then tied to that memory, if that makes any sense. That is so powerful. And not only that, the in 72 hours, you have a reason to get people to your Facebook Live video, right? You then run a Facebook Live video where you say, hey, I'm going to be announcing the winner. So everybody who's clicked on that wants to see who wins. Even if they aren't potentially home buyers or sellers themselves, there's a good opportunity that their web of people might be, right? So you're advertising to the people well beyond those who are initially seeing this, if that makes any sense. So every time somebody shares it, it's going to their web. So you're expanding your sphere considerably. So consider doing things like that. Be unique, be yourself, and do things that are a little out of the box, and use the note section. Anytime you've ever done anything that's a little bit unique in that date and time area, note what you've done, and then you can look back in a month and 2 months and 3 months and say, this is something I did, and look, my business blew up over the last 3 months, right? So really note and really know what you're doing. But once again, try a little bit of everything, and getting no's. There's nothing wrong with getting a no. Some of our best clients will say, you know, my next no is one no closer to my next yes, is kind of the idea, right? And for anybody who's ever done a lot of cold calling, door knocking, you know you're going to get those no's. This is just an easier way to get your no, but you're going to get considerably more yeses if you do it the right way.
I agree. I mean, and I think the key is you got to start with your big why, guys. I mean, why are you even here? Why? You're obviously dedicated to your business, but what's your why? I mean, how many deals do you want to have this year? What are you willing to do to accomplish that? You're all entrepreneurs, right? Like you're making a living based on how many transactions you're able to make. And so if that why is not big enough, if that internal motivation is not big enough, then you're eventually going to, fall out of this. That's just the truth. Like you have to really look at we all have, what do we all have the same time? We all have the currency of time. Every one of us has the same 24 hours that we're given every day. You know, Donna Swansea, she puts 3 or 4 hours to her follow-up every day, which is why she's got 100+ deals. Not everyone's willing to give that time to this business the way she does, right? So you ultimately got to define, number one, if you're going to convert the most amount of leads, well, you got to do these, you got to be willing to get face-to-face with people and do everything you possibly can to come from place of value and get and humanize the process like we talked about. Attending these weekly masterminds, or at least watching them, you learn from different people. You're not going to just assume that there's one way to do this. There's lots of ways to do this. The academy that we have, we try to put as much resources into it as possible, with experiences of converted leads from all types of realtors. So there's going to always be opportunities for you to try out different things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to time blocking. It really does. If you're going to work leads of this manner, you got to say, what am I willing to look at my schedule today, tomorrow, the full week, and what am I willing to invest as far as time is concerned? Because it's going to be a lot more upfront until you define what that process is for you. Once you define your process, you can start looking to automations. You can start looking to systems. You can start looking to integrations. You can start looking at better ways to leverage yourself and to leverage other people and to leverage other systems, so you're maximizing that time. But in the beginning, you need to learn. And that's why you need to be in the insider group that we have here and looking at everything that's posted in there and reading what people are asking about. That's why you come to these groups. And ultimately, that's why you time block. Because in the beginning, if you don't, you ultimately find some excuse to kind of say these leads are not, these leads are not workable. They're all workable. You may not be willing to work them. You know, an address only is workable. You could show up at that door, introduce yourself, start a great conversation if you wanted to. You could leave a great info packet like Leon talked about if you wanted to, right? I mean, there's so many cool tools out there. What did Leon just say there? I take directly from his MLS and he uses a door hanger. He puts a business card, short letter of introduction, a client out at their house, and a snapshot of their neighborhood. He uses that site. It's called that'sthem.com to look up most of their phone numbers or emails for free. And he follows up with them both on an email and a call. Like, look at that. There's another way, right? There's another way. There's lots of different ways. You got to figure out what your way is. And then just stay consistent with that way and do it as many ways as you possibly can. But if you use video in the introduction, you use video as a follow-up, and you're coming from a place of contribution, you're giving them great information in hand. It's just a matter of when that experience is great from their end, and they're going to say, come on over. That's all I got to say.
Hey, Marcus.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Or actually for the group. Does anybody have like a checklist that they use when they get a new client, a new lead that says, shoot out the video, do the CMA, do the email, do the door knock, something that, you could follow and kind of give you an idea where you are with the follow-up so that you don't miss a step or you don't miss something? Yeah,
there is one built in, Anna, already.
Okay.
In So
Tell me.
I'll just share my screen.
Yes, thank you.
So if I'm looking in, I'll go into Jess's account, for example. So if you go to contacts and you click a view contact, you have this like tasks thing here, right? And so you can use it. You can add tasks for yourself for each person. But this is just kind of like the generic. If you wanted to change it up, you could. But that'd be like a generic thing to use. And then I would say the sales pipeline that she doesn't have, where you could create a pipeline, is a good way to keep track of all your deals in your pipeline. And so you'd create all your own. I would say I would create and categorize all your own leads, so based on where you think you should have. I mean, I would say, did I send them a video introduction? Did I add them as a friend on Facebook? Did I drop them a Facebook message? Did I leave something at the door? You know, or did I leave a packet? Did I send some sort of letter? Would probably be those kind of fundamentals there. You know, and then you have like 1 month follow-up, quarterly follow-up, you know, half a year check-in, the market has changed. Would you like an updated home value? You could have all these different ideas because, again, you're going to start the conversation early on. You're going to try to identify where these guys are at in their timeline, but it's going to be up to them to invite you to home. So if you keep on going back to that contribution of, let me, you know, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Let me bring over a cup of coffee. You can hold on to this for a rainy day. There's no obligation attached to this. This is just my way of giving back to the community.
Okay.
From that place, it's just a matter of when. A lot of people have, you know, more walls set up than others in terms of they're guarded, they're reluctant, they still think of you as somebody who's trying to take their business. But the more you're coming from a place of value and contribution, the more those walls are taken down. So if you keep on coming from value, and you can just continue to look at it as, how can I get into this person's, you know, how can I build trust with this person? How can I get them to see me as more than somebody who's just trying to get their business? Because we all can see the BS meter, right? And so if someone is in this business just to get more transactions, they'll see right through that. That's why you need video, because then you can actually see into your soul, mind, will, and emotions. Particularly, for the most part, body language does help that. So if they see that you're coming from a place of wanting to serve them, they're more willing initially from the get-go to work with you. But if you're trying to do that through communication on text, it's going to be so hard for you to ever get your foot in the door there, unless you literally go to their home and knock on their door, and that could be uncomfortable, right? That's why I'm so in love with video, because video, in my mind, takes the place of getting face-to-face when we couldn't get there otherwise. And you can continue change up messages with different video content, and you can continue use, you know, experiment with different things that you could put on a whiteboard and with their name and with the subject line, and you can keep on tracking to see if they're watching it based on the tracking capacity of things like BombBomb. So you know that they're receiving your message. Then if they don't, you know, if they receive it and they've watched it, you know, you could basically do whatever you want next at that moment, right? Because then whatever you send or leave at their door could be just adding to the contribution you already gave with video. Make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? We got.
Hey, Marcus.
Yes.
Can I add something real quick?
Yes, you may, Leon. I was waiting for you to talk. I'm glad you're finally doing it now.
I'm just sitting and observing. All right. I had a question someone asked me last week, and I always say this more than one right way. So here's a tie-in video as well that people might want to check out. I'm testing this and getting good results. I was asked if I thought a text was personal or impersonal, and I thought it was kind of impersonal. And then I had another spin given to me. People, I always joke with my people when I'm training them that, you know, you're trying to reach out to people during different times of the day. They might be sitting at work in their little cubicle, having their cheese sandwich and water. They don't want everybody to the left, right, forward, behind them hearing what's going on, but they will check their phone. And a text is only impersonal if you group spam 50 people with it at the same time. But if you turn around and send a text to one person and you're sending a message directly to them, it is a personal message directly to them. So the tie-in I'm doing now on the video thing is, number one, always be real. All my videos are raw. I don't go edit it. I don't need glamour shots. They need to know you're really coming at them. It's you. You don't need to show up and they see this glamour shot 12 years old going, oh, was that your mom or your dad or grandpa or whoever? So what I've been doing is I'll go ahead and I'll blast out, I'll make a video and I'll copy the link and I'll send it in the text. And then that way they have a chance, because they'll open text quicker than the email or anything else, but you still get a chance to get your video across as well in the text. So if you want to try something over this next week, try getting a video, even just, you can do your quick video introduction and what have you, and then just go ahead and put the link into what you send out to people, and you'll be surprised at how much more response you'll get.
That's great. That's so good. Yeah, I mean, that's, and Leon, what video are you using? Are you using BombBomb to send that video out with the text?
I had used BombBomb initially, but because like you know, you've known me for quite a while. I've been flying so much and all that, and in Europe and gone and everywhere, that it's like the worst thing to do. The number one complaint is the realtor never called me back, so I got away from it. But you know, you have Loom. You've got a couple of free ones out there. You can go ahead and, whether you just put it on your phone and send it out from that as a text, or you put it on YouTube. There's several ways. I always joke about being a free 99. I don't chase every new button out there. I don't chase every new cost. And one of the other things that people should understand is, as they start rolling up, whether it's street text or some other medium, they want to still watch their budget. And so there's still free ways to get the videos set up to get them out there. It's just the bottom line is, it's better to do something than do nothing at all.
Well said. Thanks, Leon. Appreciate that. So guys, yeah, there's Loom, there's YouTube, there's, if you go to Chrome extensions, there's like a free Gmail one. I think at the end of the day, you know, there is no excuse. You can use whatever you possibly can. If you can't use BombBomb, then use something else. Everybody should try BombBomb, because there is a 14-day free trial attached to BombBomb if you haven't tried it already. Just because it's the best out there as far as I'm concerned. I like it. It integrates quite nicely. We're actually building the integration with Street Text shortly here, so you'll be actually filming BombBomb videos from within the dashboard. So that's the future. But in the meantime, try everything. I mean, I know you, Logan, you work with some guys that you tell them to do a YouTube video on there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's same thing. I mean, exactly like what Leon was saying is test it and try it. And if you aren't going to take the BombBomb route, maybe even if doing the free trial through that, get something in there. And if you're finding that it's working, but it could be better, which obviously everything could be better, then you know that the video was the right idea. Then invest into something else. But start with all the free options you could possibly find. Exhaust all those, of course, and just get video in there. And once again, you are in competition with so many other people. It's natural. The best way to get that business is show them who you are, right? You're your brand. Never forget that your face, your name, your energy, that is your brand. You're not flipping burgers. You're not selling somebody else's product. You are selling yourself in a sense. You're your brand. So get that brand in front of them in its full capacity. You know, you could be a word wizard, so to speak, and write the best texts, the best emails. That doesn't show these people who you are. So that's not necessarily going to get you the business. Get yourself in front of them.
Well said, guys. Anything else that you guys want to talk about? Anybody have any wins they want to tell us? I know you've raised your hand, Richard. Is there something you'd like to say?
Yeah, actually, just wanted to make a comment and see how people work through some of their leads. Because in less than a week, I've gotten 67 lead form inputs. So, I mean, that's kind of a lot to work through. And so just kind of curious, you know, how do people take on that kind of workload? Because I'm a solo agent. Obviously, not all of them are looking to sell immediately. I've had quite a bit of people, you know, sign up and say, look, I'm ready to sell right now. You know, can we meet, basically? So, you know, obviously I want to attend to those ones first that are more curious and looking to right now. And then there's, you know, tons that are just curious. And then there's some that are 6 months out. And so obviously I don't want to put off the people that are saying they're just curious. They're just as important to me as it's ready to sell right now. Because I got to get them in my pipeline, but just kind of curious how people work through that. Because I mean, that's a lot of address, 67 to hit in a week. And obviously if I keep running the ad, which that's the intent, don't stop just because it's a lot. You know, how do you manage when you're a solo agent?
It's great. I mean, doing what you're doing first and foremost is, yeah, the lowest hanging fruit you're going to work with, number one. As far as the address onlys are concerned, that's when you can get to them. I mean, my biggest advice is just figure out a template that you can use. And you're going to have a mailer, you're going to have all your postage stamps, and you're going to have envelopes, maybe some color envelopes, something unique that you know is going to be opened. And just have that as your go-to for those ones that when you get to, you're going to mail out, right? That's what you're going to do for the address onlys. For anybody else, I would say focus on the video email as the most important thing to touch base with them. And then, you know, you can do a weekly check-in when possible, monthly, quarterly. That's how you're going to look at those guys that are not responding. But you're going to. And Richard,
also, you can consider lowering your budget a little bit as well. We always recommend everybody start at $9 a day because that seems to be the right amount for everybody to start with. But you need to also adjust that to, you know, manage the workflow, right? The last thing that we want you to do is burn out. You know, you could be a superstar and keep up on all these for a week, a month, a year, and then all of a sudden just it's too much. And that's the last thing that you want. And you right now, you can tell you have the right mentality. I think that you're going to be able to serve these clients the right way. The last thing that your clients need is you to be overworked as well. So there can be something to be said with not advertising enough, but also advertising too much. So if you're finding that it's a little bit much, it's the best problem to possibly have, of course, but simply lower that budget a little bit. Just try to maintain and stay within those guidelines that we set of not raising or lowering your budget by more than 20% in a 72-hour period, because that runs the risk of resetting your ad metrics. So if you're at $9 a day now, I'd probably turn it down to, $7 or $7.50 and just see what that does. If you notice a large change and you want to go back, right? Not a problem at all. But if you lower it down to $7 and that threshold is more manageable, I think you're gonna enjoy it more and you're gonna do a better job for your clients.
That's good. That's well said. Anybody else? We got a couple minutes here. Anybody else have any questions or anything they wanted to address? Just go ahead and unmute yourself. Dylan, you there? Anybody? Josette?
Question.
Yeah.
Is there any certain, I came in here kind of maybe halfway through, but is there any certain kind of CMA tools you guys recommend that will help maybe automate the process into, of course, the one-on-one evaluation will come, but anything else that plugins well with the system, like Cloud CMA or anything, for example?
Cloud CMA works. Personally, we all have our own different approaches. For me personally, I actually wouldn't send a CMA until I've spoken to them. We actually found in the past, we used to plug in directly with Cloud CMA. It was a service we offered long ago. I think Cloud CMA does a good enough job, but once again, you're giving them a number that we know is going to be inaccurate. So there is that fine line of giving them what they've asked for, giving them too much too early without you getting what you want. And, personally, I think that sending them a piece of paper, once again, if it answers too many of their questions without starting that conversation, what do they need you for? If you don't have your video email set up, things like that, you're just a name on a piece of paper. That's probably going to hit their junk drawer. Best yet, it might be on their fridge for a week before it gets thrown away, right? So you need another way, in my opinion, to get some of the information to them that they've asked for, but withhold enough that they know that you're the source for their answers. So be careful with sending CMAs too early. However, that same thing said, one of our best, our top producing agents does send CMAs to everybody. I don't know how she finds the time, but she does, and she does very well. So test a little bit of everything. And I definitely recommend trying sending CMAs to some people, withholding CMAs for others, and then track what's working best over time. But in terms of what systems to use, Cloud CMA does integrate well with our system. So you could definitely try that.
Awesome, guys. We'll be sensitive to the time. It is 10 o'clock our time, 1 o'clock for some of you guys, 12 o'clock for you central people. That was a good one. So any follow-up questions, concerns, comments specifically that you want for us to address or even talk about next week, just message us. Start being more active in that mastermind, the insider group too. Start commenting on there. Share us with us what's working, what's not working, what you have questions with, because you have hundreds of people that will respond there. That's what your community is for. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thanks.